in the Produce Safety Program. Today, we will be hosting a webinar about the produce safety water testing for generic E. coli mini grant. During this webinar, we will be going over basic information and how to apply for the mini grant. Please note this webinar is being recorded by the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, and all or portions of the recording will be posted on the MDA website. During the webinar, participants will be placed on mute. Questions can be asked during the presentation in the chat box and will be addressed during open questions at the end of the webinar. About the water testing mini grant. The Produce Safety Water Testing for Generic E. coli mini grant is a pilot program. We have approximately $2,800 to distribute. This program will reimburse 100% of a farm's generic E. coli water testing up to $400 per farm. Funding for this mini grant comes from the United States Department of Agriculture's Specialty Crop Block Grant. A full-scale mini grant program will be offered in January of 2022. The future mini grant program will provide financial support for water testing and on-farm food safety improvements for expenses dating after September 30th, 2020. More information about the full-scale mini grant will be available during 2021. Who is eligible for this pilot mini grant? All Minnesota produce farms that sell an average minimum of $5,000 annually of produce covered by the produce safety rule. Covered produce is defined as any commodities that are not listed on the FDA's list of regularly consumed raw produce. A list of the excluded commodities is available on the application. The pilot mini grant is only reimbursing expenses for generic E. coli water testing that occurred between September 30th, 2017 and December 31st, 2020. Applicants must have documented proof of purchase that demonstrates that the water testing was completed for generic E. coli during the eligible time period and the total cost of the testing. The University of Minnesota Extension has a list of FDA-accepted water testing methods available on their water testing fact sheet. A link to this fact sheet can be found on our MDA website. We started accepting applications on January 12th of 2021 for the mini grant. Applications will be accepted until February 26, 2021. Mailed applications must be postmarked no later than February 26 in order to be eligible. Questions about the mini grant must be submitted by February 18th. Applications will be reviewed and scored between March 8th and 19th. Award notices will be sent out on March 22nd. All awardees will need to submit a W-9 no later than April 2nd. Awards should be received in the mail between April 30th and May 31st. During the application, you will be asked for your contact information, if you've had previous food safety training, completed the 2021 grower questionnaire, if your farm sells at least $5,000 annually of covered produce, if you grow specific commodities, when and where your water testing was completed and how much it costed, along with questions about demographic information. Only complete applications will be considered. Incomplete applications and applications that are missing documented proof of purchase for generic E. coli water testing will be sent a denial notice. If your farm attended a produce safety rule grower training not hosted by the state of Minnesota, or attended a minimum half-day GAPS training hosted by the University of Minnesota Extension, in order to receive the extra scoring criteria points, copies of the certificate of attendance is required to be submitted along with the application. If you attended a grower training hosted by the state of Minnesota, a copy of the certificate is not required. How to submit your application. We are accepting applications online. They could be submitted via the web platform. The online application is available at www.mda.state.mn.us/E. coli mini grant. Paper applications are available upon request. Paper applications and supporting documents can be submitted to us via email at producesafety.mda@state.mn.us or can be mailed to us at the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, Attention Produce Safety Program, Mini Grant, 625 Robert Street North, St. Paul, Minnesota, 55155. All applicants who meet the minimum criteria for the mini grant will have their application scored. The scores will be then organized highest to lowest. Funds will be dispersed starting with the highest score application in descending order until the funds are depleted. In the event of a tie, the funds will be awarded to the application that was completed first, that was received first. In order to prioritize funding, we have developed the following criteria. The elements we are looking at is if the farm has had on-farm food safety training, completed the 2021 annual grower questionnaire, if the farm is covered by the produce safety rule, if the farm sells commodities which have been identified as higher risk for generic E. coli, if the farm meets the definition of an emerging farmer based on the demographic criteria, urban farm based on the farm's location, or a new farm. The scoring criteria is not a scale. You are either awarded the full points in a particular category or not at all. The total possible score of a farm is 100 points. At this time, if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself or enter any questions you have in the chat box. We have the following question in our chat box. The question is, if the paperwork the grower gets reports the results in terms of total coliform, but not generic E. coli, can a grower submit for reimbursement? To answer this question, yes. When submitting your documentation to show proof of purchase for generic E. coli water testing, we will be looking for the documentation to either indicate that the testing was for generic E. coli, or we'll be evaluating the method listed on the documentation to verify that it matches the list of the FDA accepted methods for water testing for generic E. coli. Any other questions at this time? We received another question in the chat box. Will you need the actual results? No, we do not require the actual results to be submitted with your application. We are only looking for documented proof that the purchase occurred for generic E. coli water testing, the date it occurred, and the total cost. We do not need to know the end results of that testing. Great questions. Do we have any other questions at this time? Not hearing or seeing any other questions at this time, we would like to thank you for participating in our webinar today. The recording of this webinar will be posted to our MDA website, which is www.mda.state.mn.us/E. coli minigrant. If you have any additional questions, please email producesafety.mda@state.mn.us or call the Produce Safety Program at 651-539-3648. All questions and answers are available on our website. This list is updated as new questions are received. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. This webinar is now ending.